Hello everyone, welcome to our show, All Things Autism and More. I am Irene with Claire and Patricia, and we have a special guest today called Doreen. She's going to introduce herself. We had promised you that we would engage with other persons such as educators, schools, and the list is endless. So we welcome Doreen. Doreen is going to tell us a lot more about herself and what she's been doing in the space of autism in as far as education is concerned. So welcome, Doreen.
Thank you.
You can introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yes, hello viewers. My name is Doreen Arini Kahigwa. I'm passionate about children with disability. I love to educate, to empower, to add value on every child who is different. Yeah, I'm married to Mr. Andrew Kahigwa, and I have 2 children. We have 2 children. Yes, I think that's what I can say now.
Thank you, Doreen. So Doreen, do you care to tell us about your story behind having this passion for special needs persons?
Yeah, well, my story basically begins from a point of being a mother.
Yes.
Being a mother, and I had a journey that led me into a school, and I started teaching there while I was working in the school, which was kinder care. My daughter, Favor Marian Tuhaire, fell sick. She was 2 and 8 months. I was expecting my son, and she was that age, 2 and 8 months, and she got what they called febrile convulsions. So the maid called me at home and was like, Favor has convulsions. She said it in the local language. Mwana yesika, auntie yangwa. So I said, okay, let me go home. By the time we reached home, she was still having those convulsions. So we rushed to Zambia and we were admitted. There's so much that happened in between there. So we were admitted, and so we started, looking at options of making her better. And they had this other concern to find out whether she had, meningitis or epilepsy. So they suggested that they needed to do a test that needed to, take some liquid from the spine. And I said, no. I don't remember that procedure, but I refused. I said, how could I, see my child? And they explained to me the procedure, how they do it, how they bend the child completely to get that fluid. I imagined it immediately. I said no. And everyone was looking at us. We are admitted. Doctors are not working on us. And I was a little bit confused. What should I do? Should I say yes? But my heart was saying, no, don't do it. Unfortunately, we had to leave the hospital. And we went to an outside medical providers. It was a clinic. Well, they worked on her on assumptions. By God's grace, the doctors just, imagined, okay, it could be this, it could be that. But later on, she described it that, these are febrile convulsions. They will go after 7 years. So they put, they put her on a drug, and which calmed down the the convulsions, but then made her very hyper, very hyper. So I got concerned. I went back to the doctor. So when I went back to the doctor was like, I know what the cause of this is. So she gave me another drug that could take away the hyperactivity. But in the meantime, she was not talking. She was just making some weird noise and what. Yet before, she had words. And so I was like, okay, so they gave us the drug, which made her now dull.
Oh, no.
So we go back to the doctor and we are like, okay, this drug has now made her dull. She's always sleeping. She doesn't do anything. She was like, oh, okay. Okay, now we are going to take her off. But now you will need to help your child.
This is the doctor saying.
Yes, you need to help your child. If need be, you need to leave that job.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. And so I went out of that clinic like with tears, no answers, no solution at that moment. Special needs that time was not their therapy work. I wasn't aware of all that. So I went. The following day I had to go back to work and tell them. I thought I woke up in the night, but I had to tell them that I'm leaving the job because my child and this. In fact, the director was so sad because I had just worked with them for 1 year, I think, and a half. And there was a future. And then all of a sudden, I had organized a training. We had training for the teachers. And I'm saying I'm not going to attend. She said, you need to first conclude what you started. So we concluded, and I said bye. And I went home. So as I was at home, trying to figure out how to help this child as, someone who has been working with children, I knew that I needed flashcards, I needed these things and what to help this child once again. I started from zero, like, this is a bus, this is a train.
So what age is she now at that point when you're starting from zero?
Yes, about 3.
3 now.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yes.
So we stay home. While we were there, one of the parents in that former school now begins to ask, I'm no longer seeing teacher Doreen. Where is she? So they tell her the story. And she gets concerned. She's like, can you give me her contact? I said, and then they gave her the contact. So I got a number calling me. And she's like, I heard your daughter fell sick. Yes. So what are you doing? I'm home. Doing what? Yeah, they told me to help my child. Okay, what are you doing? Homeschooling. Okay. Now, this is what you're going to do. Because her child also had some challenges with speech. Yeah. So she said, okay, can you come to Entebbe? They used to live in Entebbe. She was a doctor at Entebbe. I don't remember the grades, but I think it was grade B or grade A. I don't remember. Anyways, so she said, you know what? Come with your child. I'll transport you. I'll help your child. You will help your child while you're helping mine. Yeah, so that's how I get into this world of homeschooling and special needs. So I work with the child for about 2 years. And then later, she sees the child pick up. And she's like, okay, now we are going to transition the child to Heritage International School. So that's how I leave that family. But then she recommends another parent. So that's how I began the journey. And then I realized now I need, there were so many around where people needed help and they couldn't. But it was by the grace of God. Then I wasn't training because I had a passion to help. I had unanswered questions. I had this child of mine who I needed to help. So I had to look for answers. How do I help? What do I do? How do I make this child work? How do I make this child, respond. Yeah, that was a quest that I began to see, how do I add value to this child, to learn something. Yeah, that's how the journey began.
Wow. And do you mind telling us where Favor is now?
No.
Yeah, so later on, Favor catches up, begins to talk. And
around what age? I keep posing these questions for parents out there because they're helpful for their parents.
Yes, there was intensity because I was with her in the kitchen, everywhere, talking to her, telling her to look at me, and intentional, like intentional. But I must say that I don't want to say that it was quick. I think God intervened in a way, because along the way she could learn, but she could not respond properly. So the responding, she could learn and, identify things, march and do things and write. But then the conversations were not that good and what, but she was busy learning. So later on she began to pick up talking, saying this and that, through the different, techniques of teaching, story time and what. That's around, 5 years, basically. Where you really hear her, and also not limiting her, and also not, keeping her in that one environment of home. So we got involved even in Sunday school. I was a Sunday school teacher. So automatically she had to be in Sunday school. She had to be with the other children who were talking, and maybe that also helped. So and later on we joined a school. I told my husband, you know what? We need a school where we can identify so that we can be able to, she can be able to say, I am in this school. They would ask her, which school are you in? And then I would imagine, okay, what are we going to answer? So a friend of mine had a school in Muyenga. We went there for a short time. Later on, we went to Honey Bears. That's where she completed her kindergarten level. And then she joined Daffodils Primary School. Now at Daffodils, she didn't perform well the interview. And then when I called the office, good enough, the director is the one who picked. And I was like, oh, she's going to miss her friends. She has been excited. Then they enrolled her to take her on. So, but I didn't tell them the story. I didn't tell them because of the fear. The fear of stigmatizing, because of the fear of rejection. So I didn't tell them what you are doing. Any challenges. I didn't tell them. So we went and they gave her the vacancy. She did P1 up to P7, completed P7 and got aggregates 9. And then we also enrolled in secondary, partly, 6 weeks, then COVID came in, and then we enrolled in Asifiwe International School. That's where she is. She's moving from grade 11 to 12. So we are so grateful. I must say it is a hand of God. It is also an intentional journey of not confessing what you don't want to see. You keep positive mind, as you work on things. It's not just, keeping the positive mind, but you also keep working on them.
Okay. And let me do Lugambo. Because she has skipped the most important part. Favor is the school president. Of this year.
She is
2025, 2026.
She is the school president. And I've always pushed her to get involved. To get involved, to get a position, to get what. Meanwhile, I've never really told her challenges. Because also those can can
Limit,
her.
yes, yes.
Yes, much as she had, you know, those challenges that I was aware of, comprehension and what, but I kept pushing her and saying, you know what, you can make it, you can do it, you can do this, you can stand up and you can speak for you. But they are saying I'm this. I said, no, you are not that. Are you that?
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good. And I am one of those parents who have benefited from Doreen.
Yes.
And at home we call her teacher Doreen. I believe if you had watched an episode earlier on where we were talking about education and how we had to take Yona out of school and bring him into homeschool, she's the person behind that.
Yes.
And I must say during her time with Yona, she contributed quite a bit. She also influenced the decision of taking him into Asifiwe. So that said, can you please share with us your experience as a special needs teacher?
Yes.
What your experience has been?
Yeah, it's such a joy to work with children who are differently abled. You know, it's such a joy. You discover their different abilities. And when I left, you know, the homeschooling, I joined again a school. Then later on, I joined a special needs center where we started an inclusive program in that center. So then we worked hard together with Mr. Fred, and we made a difference in that time. And we got good results. So that year, we got an influx of children in that center. And then I realized, working with children with disabilities quite at all. It's a hard task.
Yes.
And I had like about 15 in my class. And all of them had different, you know, conditions. Then I was requesting for a teaching assistant, and they told me that, but we are paying you a lot of money. Why don't you, you know, realize and understand? So I said, okay, what am I doing here? Am I going to offer my best when one is on toileting and I leave the class, I find them in a mess, or am I making a difference? So I quit the job. Now, when I quit the job, I went back home and sat. To cut the long story short, that's when Fred asks, are you still available? Can you work with a child, one child at home? I said, again, I'm going back into this thing.
Was that traumatizing?
Yeah, I was like, again, now I'm going back into this thing. And meanwhile, the Lord had spoken to me. I said the Lord because he had confirmed it.
Yes.
He had spoken to me that he's creating a job for me. I was excited. And now the job that they created
Is
homeschooling and a special child.
Yes.
I said, Lord, is this what you've created? And I said, let me go and meet these parents. I remember where we met. So that I accepted, but with this hesitation of, do I really want to go back to this journey? I said, okay, I will go. And we started working with Yona. And I had worked with some children, like I told you, in the other center. And sometimes you think that all children are the same. They are not. Now with the special, you can think that, okay, this technique can work with this one. No, you realize that, okay, now these ones are different.
Yes.
And I meet Yona. I start working with Yona, who was different, who needed different techniques. And later on, of course, I'll be telling you every other time, I'll discover that, you know what, practical experience for Yona was the best for him. Like, you know,
Yes.
you go practical, he would understand more than when you go into the books. I introduced them to a curriculum called Accelerated Christian Education. And I told them, you know what, it will work because it will guide us on what pace to take him.
Yes.
And he will go at his own pace. We will be able to help him at his own pace. And they bought the idea. They even went ahead and you know, contributed to the training. Thank you so much. You know, yeah. So the experience is such, you know, interesting in a way that you learn each child as you get these children come your way.
Yes.
You learn a different way of how to handle the children. You embrace the difference in every child. So as an educator for these children, I have come to realize these children are able to learn.
Yeah.
But you need to understand how are they learning in a different manner. Which technique do I have to use? When you look at, you know, each child that comes your way, you embrace the child the way they come and look at how best they can be able to learn.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I think I have talked a lot. I'll leave my fellow.
Me are soaking up all the information. I don't even want to interrupt anything, but she keeps saying techniques. And I know you said, you've also just mentioned that, you know, not all the children, you can't generalize in your techniques, but could you maybe point out just a few that could possibly be tweaked and changed as and when, but can generally help with a parent? Or with what techniques have you used? Have you seen maybe educators can learn from you or other parents or something? Because I know that with special needs, what the teachers do, even us, we have to continue it at home and such. So perhaps you could share with us what the ones you've seen can generally be used with children that have special needs that you have encountered.
Yeah. So one of the techniques that comes to mind is using sensory interventions, multi-sensory intervention. You don't have to use like, when we say sensory, most of our children who are differently abled learn through their senses. And the neurotypical children, for them they are lucky they can learn
Whichever
one way. They can learn one way. But with our children, you need to apply all ways, all multi-sensory ways that are possible to them. Because you will find one will learn through feeling, you know. The other will learn through, you know, music, hearing, or through, you know, other senses, basically. So when you engage when you use the multi-sensory technique, it will help this child learn. Don't quickly go to the one way which the neurotypical can be able to use. Before you go to the end result of now, let's learn the concept. Let the child first explore.
Okay.
Explore, like, you know, feel it, hear it, you know, touch it, see it, and, you know, even taste it, you know. Yeah, for instance, I remember one time I was struggling with Yona, and we were not getting the sounds. And I said, okay, what should we do? How do we go about it? And then I realized, you know what? I saw him one time at home playing with foam. Okay? Soap. And I said, okay, I think he's interested in this. So we are going to use foam. Now you can imagine that day when the Lord opened that to me, and I said, okay, we shall use the foam I made the soap, the foam, and I called him, come and we play together. Do for me something, write for me something. He wrote. And it was an opportunity for me to teach him the sounds in the foam. In the foam. So he began to write in the foam. In the foam. And we realized that, okay, he was enjoying, first of all, it seemed like play, but yet he was enjoying learning. And then when we used even the shaving foam, because it has that tingly feeling in the skin, he began to even get interested. And then we would transfer what we learned, that what we have learned, now we are going to write it in the book. Okay? So you see, if he had not felt or played or explored the environment, he wouldn't have done what? Learned in the book or write in the book. So multisensory has turned out, multisensory is where you involve all senses. So sometimes it could be like, okay, at times I would have headphones, and I say, okay, listen to this. And I want him to listen to like maybe the sounds. But meanwhile here, when I'm speaking, he will be looking, hearing the birds and
Inattentive.
yes, inattentive. So now you see the technique of the auditory works. Now they are seeing, you are seeing this letter. We would sit together close to each other, and he doesn't like to be. And yes, and then he listens as I listen, as I point. So you see the senses that are involved.
Yes.
Multisensory technique. Practical life also worked for me and still works. The practical life experience. I like, the Montessori method also is really has good techniques where it is practical and it's indeed multisensory, sensory learning, where you first do practical things before you get into this book. This book is boring to them. You are talking and they are not even experiencing. So Yona had a privilege to really have those practical items that he would be able to, learn from. So that practical way of learning also helped, before we want to impart the other knowledge. How do we impart it? Through play, through, pictures and so on. Yeah, that's what I could be able to say.
It's really amazing. I've been listening to you, and I realize now that there's so much we take it for granted and think that these techniques are for our children because of their special needs, which to some extent, yes, that's true. But if someone had used those techniques,
I know
certain things, you never know, I could have possibly done better in
Certain areas.
So I guess that also says a lot about the teacher that you are.
Yes.
It's really engaging. I can picture myself doing that technique. So thank you for sharing.
But maybe also the other thing, I just remembered that all children are different. And I just remember that also our routine, each child needs a routine that they can be able to follow and be able to learn better. Not every routine will work for each child. So I remember even in our learning, we used to give him a lot of breaks so that he can be able to go and do also his stuff so that he can buy into what you want them to hear.
I'm going to ask a selfish question. My son just started P4, and I've just been here thinking how Favor did P7 and even got 9. How did you navigate that whole being a candidate and, prepping for final exams? Did you start years before, like us were in P4, and you're like, that's the target? Or did you, how did you handle that to prepare her and get her to a place where she could sit and do a final exam? The result is amazing, but the process to get there could you share some of the strategies maybe, or things that you may have done to help her get ready in this very traditional, education and curriculum? How are you able to help her get,
Well, as parents and educators, there is need for dedication. Many a times we fail where we are not consistent in, committing to helping these children on a daily basis. Regular exposure of the expected outcome and telling them, okay, there is an exam that is going to come and we will need to do it, and you will need to prepare by reading through these, because they don't want also to repeat all the time. You're telling us.
I know.
Yes. So I had different materials from different places so that she doesn't get bored of the same repetitive, work. So you find that, okay, it's the same work, but I've gotten it from modern primary school, and we do. Then we get maybe Kobuta, we do. Then we get Simanye Exam Central, we do. Like, it's not the same thing, but we are actually repeating,
But
different
styles.
yes. Let us see what the school gives. So I had also many other teachers who would give me different papers from different, I know you can do it because this one is like a small school, and it was, yeah, okay. Yeah, so exposure to different materials that focus, that lead them to the end result,
Yes.
and also dedication. Don't expect them not to be able to do when you're not there. Yeah, you must invest time to sit with the child, to help this child, to see the challenges. What are they going through? Are they tired? Are they getting bored? Are we over doing it? Sometimes we overdo it, and the child is tired, but you, the parent, you are able to see that, now my child needs a what?
A break.
A break. Whereas the teacher will be able to say, you know what, for me, I want to achieve this, and we have to complete on that.
But I think that the overall theme that I'm getting is the commitment, the consistency, and the intentionality in all of it. And also I am sensing a partnership as if with the child, because if you're going to do all these different, if you're going to explore all these different methods or look at different papers from different places, and so you kind of have to work together in this mission.
You have to move together.
It can't just be, putting it at the child. Thank you for sharing.
Actually, in that case, you need to prior tell them.
Yeah.
And our children need preparation. You have to tell them that, I saw some work, I think it can help you do better. Do you think we can try it out? Okay, yes, no. So some will accept, others may not accept. So you need to prepare them what is coming. Otherwise, you might go here and buy the papers, and then they are not prepared, and they refuse. Yeah, so you prepare them in advance, and you say, you know what? What's your son's name?
Harvey.
Oh, Harvey. I have some papers that I want us to do. Do you think you would do them with me? So that you prepare. And he's not anxious. Now they've dumped this paper and I have schoolwork. Schoolwork is enough. For them, they have their way of doing things and they already know what I have is already enough. Why are you bringing this now? So preparation of the mind is important.